Good morning, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday here as we continue our online devotions and conversations as we go through this time of self-quarantine. Again, thanks for being here. I'm grateful for the technology that allows us to have this conversation. You know, a lot of times in our life, we can't sense that God is with us. There are times, and they are wonderful when they happen, when you're almost scared to open your eyes when you're praying because you will sense God in the room, and you're afraid you will see too much. So you keep your eyes closed really tight because God is that close to you and that real to you in the moment. But there are times, aren't there, when you can't find Him. When something has happened in your life, you have been shaken by some event, you've endured some kind of trauma, and you are just sure that in the moment you needed Him most, God has abandoned you. They tell us that one of the things that we fear most as infants is being abandoned. That's why children panic when the parent goes into another room, because in their world, there's only right around them and then there's nowhere. And so if you're out of sight, the child can't see you and the child will panic, thinking they have been abandoned by you and that you're never coming back. It takes them a long time to understand that you're going to come back. And sometimes, like little babies, the thing that we fear most is that we will be abandoned by God, is that He will take us out into this wilderness of life and then leave us on our own. You're not the first one to try to do this. It's an old story. In fact, it goes all the way back to Jacob. Now, let me tell you how far back that is. That is Abraham, his son Isaac. Isaac had twin boys, Esau and Jacob. Now, Esau was the oldest, but he was a brute of a man. There wasn't a whole lot of sophistication about Esau, and Esau and Jacob's mother, Rebekah, did not think that Esau should be the one to inherit the promise of God. So she tricked Isaac, and she sent Jacob in for the blessing that belonged to Esau. Esau, when he realized that Isaac had stolen his blessing, because the blessing once given couldn't be taken back, promised Jacob that the next time he saw him, he would kill him. And as far as Jacob knew, Esau was serious. So Jacob ran. And he ran and he ran and he ran until he was exhausted and fell asleep in the middle of nowhere. While he was asleep, he had a dream. You remember the dream. It's called Jacob's ladder. There's a ladder between heaven and earth, and the angels are going up and down the ladder, hearing the will of God, hearing the purposes of God, and coming down to the earth to execute those purposes, to accomplish their mission. And it was the very place where Jacob had gone to sleep. Jacob gets up in the morning and says, "Surely God was in this place and I did not know it." Well, where was Jacob? He was in the middle of nowhere. He later called the place Bethel. It didn't have a name till he gave it a name. He was in the middle of nowhere, and yet he found himself going to sleep at the bottom of the ladder that connected heaven and earth. Surely God was in this place, and I didn't know it. God is in your place, regardless of whether or not you know it. Sometimes our eyes can't see, sometimes our ears can't see, sometimes our heart can't feel the reality and the closeness of God. Now, here's what we know. God has promised that He will be closer to us than our own breath, that He will know our thoughts before we think them, that He will be in front of us, behind us, around us, over us, and under us. If we go to the highest heaven, God is there. If we make our bed in hell, God is still there. There's no place where you can find yourself absent from God, away from God. Now, you may or not feel it, you may or may not know it, but He's still there. That's the confidence that we live in. That's the miracle that Jacob discovered and passed on to us. God is in this place, whether or not you know it. So today, as you're going through your life, pay attention to those moments where you sense Him being close and you sense Him being not so close. What's the difference in those moments? What's the difference in your focus? What's the difference in your attitude? What's the difference in your own heart? At the end of the day, kind of keep a record of the times that you were close to God, the times that you felt away from God, and learn how you can begin to sense the presence of God more and more in your own life. Tell you what, I'm going to give you about 60 seconds to think about it, to pray through it, to pray that you will know the presence of God throughout the rest of your day. At the end of the tape, at the end of that 60 seconds, turn the tape off, and we'll see you tomorrow.